The campaign against all forms of gender-based violence is gaining more ground as the country takes steps to further strengthen laws protecting the rights of its citizens against all forms of abuse.
Just last week, the Nigerian Senate passed a bill prohibiting sexual harassment of students in tertiary institutions. This time, the upper legislative house has done more to amend the country's criminal code and discard limitations on gender and age restrictions in the offense of rape or defilement.
Now, those found guilty of kidnapping will now face a higher sentence of life imprisonment as against the initial 10-year sentence. Joining us now is Dennis Amakri, CEO, Zoomland Security Solutions. It's nice to have you join us right now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And good to see you again after the lockdown.
Okay.
Good
morning.
Now, we see amendments that a lot of Nigerians will say, okay, the laws are taking the shape of the modern day and all of that. As much as people still feel that, I think it should take a certain dimension, but all of that, at least we see the National Assembly doing something. But talk to us basically, all of these laws put in place, all of these laws amended, updated, upgraded, how do they deter people really from conduct? Because at the end of the day, it is that victim, it is that act that is the issue, that is the problem, that's the challenge.
Personally, I am happy that this is coming up because we've always advocated for a stiffer penalty for some of these crimes, especially kidnapping. Because before it was just a couple of 1 or 2 years and then the person is out, or sometimes we don't even prosecute them, you know, and that's another part of it, the enforcement of these laws. Because if you don't enforce it, people will always think that nothing will happen, you know, and for the National Assembly coming up with this law that a stiffer one of death penalty, I think it's in place. Although it is very, very unpopular internationally right now, many countries are moving away from death penalty. The United Nations is really frowning on it. But countries have to take steps to address certain problems that they face in their own country. Some countries like Pakistan, Iraq, if you kidnap somebody, or even if you carry drugs like in Indonesia, it's death sentence. You know, and I think the problem is whether this is going to be a deterrent for us or it is just going to be the same thing all over again. Because I know when death penalty was for armed robbery in this country, and we have the famous Barbie show, you know, but after a while, people still rob, you know, with arms. So let's see how it goes. Are we going? I think the key is enforcement.
And for the aspect of rape, which was also addressed in the amendment, some days ago there were talks about having special courts to address these issues because the road to justice seemingly cumbersome across the country, and so we're looking at perhaps having special courts to address these issues, and that raised divergent views. I wonder where you stand with regards to that, because a lot of victims suffer as a result of our criminal justice system.
The rape issue is something that they should address and enforce, you know, strictly, because it's becoming a problem. The dimension it is taking is even very, very bad, where people kidnap, and you know, what is it now? Rape is part of the kidnap issue now. Yeah. Most ladies that were kidnapped were raped, you know, and even when I teach some ladies on how to prevent kidnapping and stuff like that, the kind of countermeasures that we suggest for them.
Self-defense.
Yes, are being even violated, you know. So I think the government coming up with some kind of very stiff penalty, I think will solve it. Some people say it's because of the COVID-19 lockdown and stuff like that, but a rapist is a rapist, you know. Not everybody will just try to express their libidos in a situation like that. So I think the stiff penalty, just like for kidnapping.
But should the government be looking at having special courts to try?
Special courts, I don't know. Maybe that should help, because in the normal court system, things go in there and then they are piled up and nothing happens. So special courts are for expediency. And if that is going to solve the problem, yeah, why not?
Yeah, but lawyers sometimes will argue that who are the lawyers who will mount the special courts? Because you don't bring angels from heaven or import lawyers from Indonesia or somewhere. Exactly, or the judges, exactly. Yeah. Because it's still going to be the same people. It's just the issue of, okay, you are 10 lawyers in this court who can delegate 3 or 4 to go to the other. It's still the same thing.
It's expediency. I think that's the key word there.
Okay.
Expediency, whereby if the special court is sitting, there must be judgment that day.
Okay.
You know, but if it is in the normal court, they'll say, oh, we're adjourned till such and such a time, and it drags on and on. You know, like
because there's a pile-up of so many
years. Evans is still sitting down there, waiting for his day in court. You know, but if he's in the special court, at least they would have expedited the problem.
Now, the intention of government is obviously clear with the recent bills it has passed. And the challenge, as it is often said, is enforcement. Can citizens bridge the gap with regards to issues of enforcement to see that justice is done for victims?
We also have to carry out a big public campaign to inform the public that when they experience things like this, they should report it to the law enforcement agents. Because it's like a stigma. You know, people are raped on a daily basis at home, especially at home, and in different places, and they just keep it hush-hush, you know, nobody is saying anything. So I think the public should be able to come up with it and then, of course, report these things. But most importantly, we want government itself to look at the root causes of why people are either raping or especially kidnapping in the society.
Is there much government can do in that aspect? Because this thing, the way it happens in the homes, in certain locations, some would say that perhaps families have a major role to play here.
For rape situations, families have a heavy role to play. But when it comes to kidnapping, I think government have another bigger role to play. Because what are the root causes of kidnapping? Poverty, corruption, hunger, unemployment, all these things in society that will make even a graduate feel like he wants to go and find a way, because people must survive. You know, so if those root causes are taken care of, or, you know, palliatives to make sure that people are not pushed into it, a kind of social security system, I think it will lessen, you know, the incidence of those things.
We see certainly that anyone who is involved in those, who falls victim to all of these, we see the trauma that the person passes through, sometimes for life. Yes. Sometimes they don't get out of it, they don't recover from it. But if we talk about prevention, which should be the first point of whatever, I wonder how much of that we should do in collaborative terms, especially talking about kidnapping, for instance. Security agencies are supposed to be, like, you talk about government. Government will certainly, we don't expect the president to come and stand and ensure people don't kidnap. He's going to use security agencies to monitor the place, ensure that there is no place that is left with, if you do that, before you even do it, you know that you know somebody is watching somewhere. Yeah. How do we collaborate enough? Because if you're talking about just the police alone can't do that. If you're talking about the SSS alone can't do that. If you're talking about NCDC, the NSCDC, they only can't do that. And then you bring in the military, they can't also do that. So it brings us to the issue of even security, private security officials. Talk to us about it.
It's a collaborative effort.
Or meant to be.
Yeah, it should be. Everybody must contribute to this. It is not just for the security agencies alone. But, you know, I still stress that the government, represented by the police and the security agencies, could do a lot. If you go to other countries, you find out that, you know, kidnapping, for instance, is a low-risk, high-yield crime. That means the benefits outweigh the cost. Anybody can kidnap anybody, but, you know, and the money or the ransom being paid especially is high. So how do we stop that? In the United States, you can go ahead and kidnap anybody you want, but you will not be able to collect the money. One, there is a government policy for zero tolerance in paying ransoms. And then number two, it is one that if you want to collect that money, they will catch you. You know, because it is not easy for you to do that. Even the Nigerian kidnappers know that. I've been involved in certain situations where, you know, ransom is going to be paid and then it takes a whole day because they are also scared to see that they don't catch, they don't get caught. So when they move around and all the rest, we can use technology in tracking them. We can, you know, put out some kind of logistics in making sure that we discourage that idea of the benefits that they are going to get.
All right, let's leave the conversation here now. Dennis Amakri, thank you so much for